Trump, Musk team up to kill the pork bill. Now, I just want to cover that aspect of it. You have to pay to read it. And quite frankly, I'm not going to do that. Musk sat there and took to Twitter and kind of blast the airwaves about this whole debacle, which is a good move because it raises awareness. He has basically the button to communicate with the entire world. And thank God he's on our side. But with this bill, something that is tough and pulls at my strings is because illegal immigration and the debt are my two biggest issues. And I don't know which one's worse than the other. They're both bad. I'm not saying they're not like one is good, one is bad. I'm saying they're both terrible. But here's what we got to figure out. Trump does want this passed now. And I'll tell you why. It increases the debt ceiling. Do you think I like that? No. But he also needs to increase the debt ceiling to perform this mass deportation operation and all the other things he wants to do. And you might be saying, well, Brad, isn't Doge going to sit there and cut $2 trillion? Yes, but that takes time. And so there's a whole strategy behind this. And Mike Johnson, as you heard from me yesterday, saying F you, Mike, needs to grow a pair. And I'm not saying that this is going to be the guy that's going to allow it to pass. And he has all the power and all those other things. No, his job is crap. I don't even know why you'd want to be the speaker, to be honest. But he needs to grow a pair. So Trump does want this passed. Trump wants to increase the debt ceiling. I don't like to hear that. So I'm in a crossroads here. I would hope that you would be able to figure out, lower the budget and pay for the things you want to pay for. Now, I'm going to say something that I think a lot of you aren't going to like. And quite frankly, I don't like either. After doing a lot of reading yesterday, and this has to do with Trump, I don't think Doge is going to have the impact that I want. I'm just going to say it and be clear. I'll tell you why. 70% of our budget, 70%, you're hearing that correctly, is made up of social programs. Now, if you want to go dive into the budget, you can see the pie chart yourself. You can look at it. And with that being said, this is something that I don't believe Elon Musk, Vivek, and Donald Trump are going to touch. That means they're only going to be dealing with, at most, 30% of the budget. I hate to say it, but these social programs have to be reworked at some point in time because that's what's driving this country into the ground. I'll give you an example of a company. I always like to take it to like an individual level if I could. But here's, I think was it General Motors, General Electric with the pensions? Remember how, when you retire, you get full pension, company will pay for it, you're good, blah, 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 and it drove the company into the ground. You're going to see the same thing in a while with the state of California. They just offer all these pensions and it's going to drive people or the state into the ground. It will. It already has. That's why we have to keep increasing taxes all the time. Now, in these social programs, you have Medicaid, right? All these other things, Social Security. Well, that has to be paid for. And things only get more expensive. It has to be reworked. And I don't think they're going to touch it. So it's not going to be the impact I hope I'm wrong. But I'm setting myself up mentally to not be irate when Donald Trump doesn't do exactly what he says he's going to do. But he needs the money still to be able to do these mass deportations and all these things to fix the problems that Joey did. And because the Democrats know this, remember, it's just a giant game of chess. That's all this is. A giant game of chess, checkers, whatever you play. Cards, doesn't matter. He needs the money. Chuck Schumer knows that. The Democrats know that. So they're not going to cave. I mean, yeah, you're good. No, they're going to pile it with pork, which is why you saw that picture of the stack of like 1,600 pages, like that big. And it's not an exaggeration. It probably literally is that big. I saw pictures of it and video. Well, the GOP-controlled House rejected on Thursday evening a revamped spending bill that would stave off a federal government shutdown by the end of the week, leaving the fate of the measure backed by President-elect Donald Trump and his close allies in doubt. Just hours after the new deal was unveiled, 172 Republicans and 2 Democrats voted for the bill. It failed to pass under suspension of the rules, meaning the bill needed a 2/3 majority for it to succeed. Another 38 Republicans voted against the bill, siding with the majority of Democrats. Now you might be thinking, well, that's not right. Why are they siding with Democrats? Well, one, the bill does suck. It doesn't matter. It sucks. Even if Trump loves it, there's portions of it that suck. Excuse me. So don't think like, oh, well, they're in bed with the Democrats. You also have to understand, Republican Party, I don't say it is vastly different, obviously, than Democrats. But what I mean by that is, if you look at the Democrat Party, they really are like unison in terms of like their ideology. It's not like that. If you were to break up the Republican Party in Congress, there's like all these different cliques / bubbles. There's Republicans who are straight up Republican that aren't necessarily worried about the budget. There's also then another group that are Republicans that are in blue areas, like I should say blue, but more like purple. And so they got to kind of cater to their constituents. So it represents both sides. So that is their job, to represent both Democrats and Republicans, their constituents. And if since it's purple, you got to kind of side with that. You also have fiscal conservatives that are part of the Republican Party, like myself, that are going, well, no, because this doesn't work. We can't keep kicking this can down the road. And there's more groups than that. So Mike Johnson has to sit there and appease every single group, which is basically impossible. So what's the short answer here? Deal or no deal? Where's the art of the deal coming into play here? Well, behind closed doors, that's what's going on. You're going to have to give something up. Something is going to have to be given up to get said thing that you want. So as much as we don't like Mike Johnson right now, I can't blame him totally, but I also can't blame the Republicans totally. I can't really blame the Democrats totally. So this is just political negotiation. Now, what sucks is we're all screwed at the end of the day, no matter what happens, basically, because they're going to raise the debt ceiling, folks. Come on. We're going to end up owing more money. More money, more problems. The Hill's Emily Brooks reported the majority leader, Steve Scalise, said the bill would not go to the Rules Committee, a move that would pave the way to a vote requiring only a simple majority for success, but stressed the legislation is not dead as members would continue having talks. So here's Mike Johnson on that as of yesterday.
Evening, everybody.
Good evening, Mike.
This is Washington. This is how the lawmaking is done. It's a long process. Sometimes it takes a while to reach consensus, but we're going to do the right thing here tonight. The American Relief Act of 2024 will provide temporary funding to get us into the first part of next year. We're excited about that because Republicans will have control of the White House and the Senate and the House, and we'll be able to make the key decisions about funding for the 2025 fiscal year. So this will allow us the opportunity to do that. In addition, we're going to take care of Americans who have suffered true devastating emergencies and disasters. We had, of course, a record hurricane season with Helene and Milton that did real damage across as many as 6 states. There's $100 billion to provide much needed relief to those people, those Americans who have really been struggling and still are from those storms. And in addition to that, we have $10 billion of emergency aid to our farmers and ranchers. Many of the small farms in America are on the verge of collapse, primarily because of Bidenomics and inflation, the high cost of inputs and fertilizer and seed and everything that they need to keep those farms going. And they've had 3 lost years in a row. Some of it because of drought, a lot of it because of the economics of it, and it doesn't make sense for lenders to provide them funding anymore. And so this is a stopgap measure to save those farms, to save food production in America, to ensure that we have that diversity in the marketplace and our food supply is directly related to national security. So it's a very, very important thing for both parties to do to provide that aid. We also have a clean extension of the Farm Bill, a clean extension of health extenders that are necessary, and a couple of other details. Everything that I just told you was negotiated in a bipartisan fashion. Both parties agreed to these terms, and that's what's on the floor right now. The only change in this legislation is that we are going to push the debt limit to January 30th of 2027. We will push it beyond that, or to that time point, and that will allow us to do the important work of governing in the new Congress. Why does that matter? Because we are committed to cutting hundreds of billions of dollars of wasteful spending out of the federal budget. That's what we're going to do. The Doge effort with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the commitments that President Trump made on the campaign trail will come to fruition when we get about that very important work for the American people. The government is too big, it does too many things, and it does very few things well. We're going to cut and limit the size and scope of the government and get it under control for the American people. We have a mandate to do so. President Trump received 77 million votes in the election. House Republicans, 74.7 million votes, the most in history. We know what we are to do. We're determined to do that. And even though this vote would push the debt limit to 2027, it in no way reflects any lack of enthusiasm on our part to get about those serious cuts for the American people. We have to have fiscal responsibility as a core principle of our party. So that's what the House Republicans are committed to, every single one of them. We will get together and do that work, and it begins in early January. I hope that this vote passes tonight. We will send it to the Senate. We will extend funding, and we'll come back, and we will have the America First agenda come in roaring.
As you're seeing, it still does just kick the can down the road. I get all of it. I get all of it. I'm not happy about it. It puts, I don't want to say people like me in a tough position. But what I mean by that is like my ideology is totally conflicting with one another. You need the money to be able to do these mass deportations. You need the money to be able to do certain things. So Donald Trump could be taken into office and he'll be broke. He has nothing. What do you expect him to do? He has nothing. So you have to raise the debt ceiling. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because damned if you do, I'm not going to be happy about it. But damned if you don't, because then I'm not going to be happy about the fact there's no deportations going on. So it's like, shit, what do we do? So it's one of those things that, quite frankly, I mean, look, there's not a simple answer to it. It's just, the answer is it is what it is. And I'm not happy about it either. I'm hoping Doge comes out and, cleans it up, but they need to touch social programs. I'm not saying people shouldn't get their Social Security. Folks, I pay into it. What is going to happen is we're going to be screwed, man. Guys, you're going to get 70, 80% of your Social Security check if you're my age, maybe when you retire. So they're just going to steal 20, 30% of your money. And the Democrats' answer is, well, at least I get some of it. What? That should be reworking. You pay the Social Security, I think you should be grandfathered in. It's going to mess with the budget, but that's why you got to trim in other places and, make up for it in the long run.